This here is Boom Studios Go-Go Power Rangers comic issue number 21. This also forms part of the new Necessary Evil arc, so it's another direct crossover with the main comic. We begin 1 year after Arrival Day and Tommy is watching a movie with Kimberly. So we've jumped ahead in time, much like the main comic had, and we see a very familiar scene. That's because this is a rehash of the part in the main comic where Kimberly and Tommy go out and nearly kiss, but don't. As the two of them part ways for the evening, Tommy goes down that alleyway where he was ultimately killed by his alternate future self, Lord Drakon. So when we get to the point where Tommy dies, he turns around and gets kissed by Kimberly instead. It was a surprising turn of events, as I was expecting Tommy to get stabbed again. So this must be a change in the timeline following the Morphin Grid's repair at the end of Shattered Grid. But as Tommy and Kimberly walk off together, we see a shadow watching them leave. We then jump even further in time as the Rangers are fighting Turban Shell from the second season of the TV series, which means the Rangers now have the Thunderzords like the main comic. So, the battle plays out a lot like the episode Green No More Part 2, with Tommy's watermelon move weakening Turban Shell's defences. But the battle then deviates for the better, production-wise. The TV series saw footage of Turban Shell spliced with footage of the Thunder Megazord. This was a common problem in the TV show because the Thunderzords were from the Japanese series Gosei Sentai Dailenja, whereas Turban Shell was from Due-2 footage. Additional footage shot in Japan which had Turban Shell fight the original Megazord. So the Thunderzord battles of the second season were really badly edited. The comics overcome that though, as we see more action, and courses of action that actually make sense. Tommy then shows up with the Dragonzord and is in the cockpit, like the TV show, because this is his final battle. The Dragonzord's rockets hit Turban Shell, and as he's about to retaliate, the Dragonzord teleports away. That served as a big enough distraction though, allowing the Thunder Megazord to get up close and finish off Turban Shell. One little nitpick though, the Rangers say Thunder Megazord power up, despite the fact that's usually said at the beginning of a battle, and they call the Thunder Megazord Saber the Power Sword.
We need the Thunder Saber now!
So all the Rangers are outside of the command center discussing Tommy's fading powers. The Green Ranger may be gone for good now. So it's much like the TV show, but the way things are being played out are different to what we saw on TV. Because of the time jump as well in the series, we don't even see much of Tommy in action, because of course we already saw Tommy struggle to fit in with the Ranger team in the early issues of the main comic. So we've gone from that to Tommy losing the Green Ranger powers. We're on the moon now and there is some fun coming up. As we've seen earlier, this issue is like a reimagining of Green No More. In the TV show we saw Lord Zed try to recruit his own Rangers, the Dark Rangers. They ended up doing absolutely nothing at all, and if you look at the suits here, it's just as well they didn't. They looked awful. So the fun element is here in the comic when Squat says that Goldar failed to protect the Green Crystal, which caused the destruction of the Dark Rangers. Zed responds by saying the Dark Rangers were pointless, untrained and unworthy. That's a fun dig at the source material, and it acts as a nice retrospective follow-up to the episode on TV. Back to the Rangers now, and Tommy still hangs out with the other Rangers in the cafeteria. They're trying to think of ways to keep Tommy included in the Ranger lineup. Zack was thinking of painting Billy's experimental armor green so Tommy would be able to fight in that. Trini though asks if anyone, including Tommy, whether they want to volunteer with her at the Angel Grove outreach. It's not something Tommy fancies doing, going by his facial expression. Fortunately, or unfortunately for him, the Rangers' communicators go off. The Rangers are called to action, but of course Tommy's Green Ranger powers are virtually gone, so he needs to sit it out. The core Rangers are morphed in the park fighting putties. During the fight, the Rangers are discussing how Tommy must be feeling. Kimberly says he's fine, but Jason says he's not. Zack says he'd like the day off because fighting putties is annoying. Trini works out that Zed is sending the putties to wear down the Rangers. Now, we all know that you aim for the Z, or Z, to defeat Lord Zed's putties.
Guys, we found the answer. Aim directly for the Z.
That's exactly what's happening here, but look how brutal the Rangers are. Billy stabs one through its back with his power lance. I have no problems with that. It's pretty realistic to do something like that in battle. It's just not something you'd see on the TV show. Now, this looks like a reimagining of how Tommy leaves. Here, he tells Kimberly he's going to stay at his uncle's cabin for a while. When Kimberly asks if he's coming back, he says, probably. It's at this moment Kimberly realises the other Rangers were right. Tommy's not fine. He seems to think that his relationship with Kimberly started because they both shared a secret. If that's the basis for their relationship, then it's a pretty bad reason to be one in the first place. Now then, we see Jason working out at home. As he's practicing his martial arts, there's a click, and the lights go off. A voice tells him not to blame himself. This Green Ranger never survives. The voice tells Jason they've been watching and waiting. Jason assumes it's Drakon, but the voice tells him he helped rebuild the universe, and now he needs Jason's help to save it. And now we see it's an emissary. That brings us to the end of this issue. I was quite surprised to see the emissary here in Go-Go Power Rangers, but because this Necessary Evil arc is yet another crossover, I'm not that surprised. Just wonder why all the secrecy, like watching Kimberly walk away with Tommy in the alley, or switching off the lights to talk to Jason. That seemed kind of pointless, unless he can't be in light or something like that. I think the key thing we need to acknowledge now is that things are going to be different. We already knew that the comics play out differently from the TV show, but things are changing even more so because of what happened in Shattered Grid. There are some changes to the timeline, so things we'd expect to happen may not anymore. We already saw Tommy die before, but he was brought back to life after Shattered Grid, so things followed the TV series for a while. Now what? If the universe needs to be saved, does it mean Tommy has to die again, or does Tommy need to become the White Ranger because that's what's supposed to happen? I'm looking forward to seeing how this will all play out.